Wakanda forever! Wakanda forever! Wakanda forever!
Well, we want to say welcome, welcome, welcome. Yes, to you, and especially you to this first Tom Ford Fridays barbershop conversations with the men, where the women are butterflies on the wall. And I found out today we got some ladybugs too. I'm gonna tell these ladies, look here, y'all need to cut out all these extra animals because Pastor Jeff, I don't know if I'm able to remember all of them. So we got ladybugs and we got butterflies here. But look at here. We want to say welcome to the Tom Ford Fridays. This is brought to you by none other than Renee Noor through the GW3 Club, as well as the Global Women Wealth Warriors. And we want to get that disclaimer out of the way right away. The opinions expressed today by our guests are indeed the opinions of the guests and do not reflect the opinions or sentiments of GW3, Global Women Wealth Warriors, or the board. Now, with that being said, I'm Pastor Jeff, and as my friend Les Brown would say, I'm plum pleasing pleasured to be your host for today's show. We're going to go ahead and get our men on. Today, we've got Peter, we got Dr. Caxton in the clubhouse. We've got Steve on the live. We've got Pastor TJ that I think is going to be joining us on the live. We got Vincent and Renard. We got a full house today. And today we're talking, you notice Pastor Jeff has on pink. And I know Tom Ford Fridays are black and white, but Pastor Jeff will be wearing some pink for the entire month in honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And we're going to talk about that a little while. In a little bit, and we've got some questions for the men as it, in reference to breast cancer. With that being said, Steve, very quickly and succinctly. Now, man, we got a lot of men today, and so we need to give some precise and succinct answers. Steve, tell us who you are, what you do, and then we're going to pass the mic over to Renard so he can tell us who he is and what he does. Go ahead, take it, Steve.
Thank you so much, Pastor Jeff, for letting me in this interview. So
it's great seeing you again here. My name is Steve Johnson. I am
marketing. I am also CEO for a couple of companies. I have a couple of businesses in different parts of the world. I was traveling and
mute your clubhouse.
All right. Sorry about that. Can you hear me now better?
Yes, that's much better.
All right. So my name is Steve Johnson, Director of Risk Marketing, CEO of a couple of companies. I am a poet, writer, investor, and also into immigrations. So this is all about me. I am probably live right now from Singapore. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. And Renard Johnson, welcome to the Tom Ford Fridays right here with Renee Noor and Pastor Jeff. Thank you for coming in for the first time. We're glad to have you. So we begin these barbershop conversations. Very quickly, tell everyone who you are and what you do.
Well, I thank you guys for the welcome, Mr. Johnson, Pastor Jeff. Nice to meet another Johnson. That works. Me personally, I am the owner of an arborist company. We tree removal, patio fence deck construction, and I'm also an extreme sports jet ski rental business owner. So we're at the end of our season right now, just wrapping things up. and we're introduced to you guys through Miss Noor, and
Oh,
we're definitely supporting breast cancer. I'm newly married myself,
all
so
right.
you know it's becoming more and more of an interesting and interesting topic for me as a man. So I'm definitely glad to be here.
And we're glad to have you. Uh, Pastor TJ Davis is in the house. Pastor Davis, very quickly and succinctly tell everybody who you are and what you do so I can move to the clubhouse and we're going to get right into our barbershop conversation for today.
All right. You said it, TJ Davis. And my position here while I'm on earth is to inspire, to motivate, to enhance, to enlighten and equip men, and to empower them to become who God has designed them to be. And so I am entrepreneur here in Atlanta, Georgia, and we're just business owners that love sharing what we do with others and building others. And so that's what we do.
All right. Thank you, Pastor Davis. We're going to go to Peter in the clubhouse. Peter, very quickly and succinctly tell us who you are and what you do.
I am Peter Ainsworth. I am the father of four amazing sons. I'm a Christian, so I believe in Jesus Christ, and so I work according to him in the hospitality industry. I'm a regional manager with a hotel company, and of course, I have formed my own LLC, and it is called Upward Momentum Hospitality, where I provide consultation and staffing for the hotel industry. This is Peter, and I am complete.
Thank you so much, Peter. We appreciate you coming in, and you are now a regular. You've been here more than 3 times, so you're regular. And we're going to go to Dr. Caxton. I think it's his second time here with us, his first time speaking. Dr. Caxton, hey, it's good to have you here. Tell everybody who you are and very quickly what it is that you do, Dr. Caxton.
Hey, Pastor. Good morning. Yeah, I tried it. I'm busy, but I could. Yes, my name is Caxton Perry. I'm a physician, been a doctor for over 33 years, and I'm also a pioneer of a method of building marriages. Starts with what's called the Dr. Caxton Marriage Blueprint. And one of the simple ones, we have a Roman clubhouse called the 3-Eye Relationship, which tells you exactly how to start the journey of marriage, to choose someone who is right for you, ready for you, and able to relate well with you. I yield the mic. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Caxton. And we're going to go to Vincent. Vincent, flash your mic if you're here with us on Clubhouse. Thank you for coming in, Vincent. Please tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Hi, my name is Vincent. I do quite a bit. I am launching 3 companies today, one of which is a global business solutions provider. I'm also a integrated machine learning and artificial intelligence practitioner and engineer, and as well as a philanthropist. Big on ESG and making sure it's done right. Middle of signing a couple documents and getting these companies launched so that I can help any business anywhere in the world grow ethically, affordably, honestly, with transparency. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Vincent. And gentlemen, as you can see, and as you have heard, we have a variety of skills, a variety of occupations, a wide range of ages. And so we have some diversity here going on in this barbershop conversation. Now, one thing that we do on the Tom Ford Fridays barbershop conversation, and that is that we absolutely agree to disagree. We do not promote group think. And so don't be afraid to share your opinion because Pastor Jeff is going to ask you, what do you think? And you can't be wrong, but you tell me what you think. We want to give the butterflies and the ladybugs. I think that's enough for Pastor Jeff. 2 different descriptions, the butterflies and the ladybugs. We want to let them be able to kind of hear what it is that men think as we're able to share in this conversation. So the ladybugs and the butterflies were so excited about Tom Ford Friday today that they started asking the questions. Now, before I go to the question that has already started in the clubhouse, I want to say blessed born day celebration to Miss Cassandra. That's right, blessed born day celebration to Miss Cassandra. I want to send my condolences to anyone who has a family member who has transitioned from life temporal to life everlasting as a result of breast cancer. And I want to send out hope, love, peace, and encouragement to anyone who has a family member or who themselves may be going or dealing with or challenged with breast cancer currently, and say to the men, look, breast cancer is not only for females, men also get it. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But men, the question that already started that the ladies want to know, as you know, the format for those who are joining us for the first time, we ask two questions that the ladies want to know, and then we get it into questions that are pertinent to the men. So the first question the ladies want to know is, who's in demand more, men or women? Steve, I think you already answered that question. So we're going to go to Bernard. Bernard, women want to know, in your opinion, who's more in demand, the women or the men? And very quickly, why?
You know what? I'm gonna make it really easy because not only am I a husband and a man, of course, but I'm a father as well, and have several children, 4 boys and 6 girls. So that being said, if you use that as a guideline for who's more in demand, I would say men, we are more in demand. More in demand in the home, more in demand as fathers, more in demand as men, more in demand in so many different ways. Because see, the women are stepping up because of the lack of men. You got more women bosses popping up, and I would say in a lot of instances, groups that become, and it's a tricky word because and you have to dance lightly on it, but feminists,
Brother,
where
speak your truth. Speak your truth.
in a sense of, you know, men don't this, men don't that, so women have to this, women have to that, and they build upon that because there's not two things: enough men, they outnumber us. They outnumber us far enough, by far. Um, I think the status when even I was a teenager, we used to laugh about it, but I think some of you gentlemen, we may be around the same age, but we said, well, what? It was maybe nine women to each man per capita. So why shouldn't we be able to date more women? That's because we were being raised by Fonzie and JJ from Good Times.
Not
But
JJ.
at the end of the day, um, the truth in it was that there was definitely more women than men. So there would obviously be more available women and less available men. And men feeling the
All right.
feeling that we've become comfortable. I don't know whether it's society that has made men comfortable and we've become laxed in how we do what we should do, or maybe it's, look, another tricky topic, but has a lot to do governmental
That could have
with
something to do with it.
the mindset or the focus that, you know, you don't need men in the home, you can do it without. But there's some things that cannot be done, and we have to step up and do. So
All right.
I'm not using this as a pressure plate to uh, bring us lower as men, but to lift us up. We need to step back into those places. You know, raise our sons. Women, I hate to say this, but there's certain rites of passage to being a man.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know a woman that knows those rites of passage.
All right.
And I think more men are forgetting those rites of passage and not passing them on to their sons. We
Okay.
live in a now and not in a preparation for the future and the next generation. And all of these things combined, it's almost a woe for our society. But yeah, there's definitely more women than there are men. I don't want to go too deep into
All
this
right. Thank
right
you.
now because
Thank you.
this is a rabbit hole, gentlemen.
Actually, well, we're gonna move from. Thank you, and we're gonna go to Pastor T.J. Davis. Pastor T.J. Davis. The ladies would like. Oh, the ladies, the butterflies, the ladybugs would like to know who's more in demand, from, in your opinion, women or men.
Well, I really don't have. I don't have an answer on a gender that's in demand. But I will say that um, to answer the question about the demand is based on who is making the choice of being present and showing up and doing exactly what their role is, and whether it's a demand or no demand, are we going to stand up and we're going to do our part, um, in part in the lives of the next generation. Jeff, I said this oftentimes that men are responsible for everything that goes right, everything that goes left, everything that goes wrong. And so we are responsible as men, and I'll say this as first person speaking. I'm responsible for pouring out myself into the next generation of men, and that means that my question to men would be, who are you pouring yourselves out to? Who's following you? Who are you preparing? And what principles are you using to prepare the next generation of men? So, to that, I believe that, hey, it's not a gender thing that's in demand. It's who is deciding to stand up and make a difference wherever you are. So that's just where I am with that. You know.
All right. Well, thank you, Pastor T.J., for that. And you asked some questions that we're not going to address today, but those are questions that men can they can process those questions if you're listening. But we're not going to address those questions on today. And we'll just remind all the men that we do only have an hour. We do only have an hour, and we've got quite a few men in the clubhouse as well as the four that are on. And so let's keep that in mind as we give our answers. We're going to go to the clubhouse, and we're going to Vincent. Are you with us?
Yes,
Vincent,
sir.
the question is, the ladies want to know. They want to know, from your opinion, in your opinion, are women or men more in demand?
Men are more in demand, but not just guys, like actual stand-up men, role models for those others that are trying to become men who may think they might be men based on like groupthink of these days. Unfortunately, I'm 31. I'm from a generation of what they call trying to use polite conversation. Fuck boys. Let's just put it how it is. Man, we're just driving more and more towards that every day. And ladies, men are, I might say men are more in demand, but we're also in need of women that recognize that, how do I put this? You have to understand, I'm a big proponent for women in business, women in technology. These are things that are like in my main interests on my LinkedIn page. Like things that matter to me most, equality across the board. But for this to happen, we must be equal. And in this day age, I was in a room the other day. It's like I got pulled into it, and it was celebrating men masculinity, and I was all for it. I was happy to be a part of the conversation, and the woman who was leading the room, very passionate. I couldn't tell if she was intoxicated or what, but she started associating it to the Holocaust. And as soon as I mentioned, like, hey, I think this might be negating of the fact of like what you're trying to do here, and she kicked me off stage. And I said it very politely, and I was not trying to be rude. I was like, but this is exactly the problem. Like it's not like men are some poor like creatures that can't help themselves. It's just there's so many that are without direction. So we're in need of men that can help provide direction.
All right. Well, thank you so very much there, Vincent. And we see that Maurice Dayton is in the house. He is a regular. He comes and he supports us, although he cannot speak, but he does come and support. And we see there we have Steve Potmore in the house as well. Steve, if you'd like to come up and pour in the conversation, just simply raise your hand and one of the mods will bring you up so you can pour in the conversation. Gentlemen, as I listen to this on the surface, this seemed to be a straightforward, easy to answer, probably no thought put into it question, but you gentlemen have shared and you've let us know that from the perspective of the men, this question is really deep. It's kind of like that iceberg. You see a little bit on the top, but it really goes deep down because you get into as I've listened to you, we've talked about availability. We've talked about actually what is the definition of a man. So when the ladies ask the question, who are more in demand, women or men? Then if we're going to define the men, then on the converse, we've got to define, well, what makes a woman? So is it just your gender or is it a person who has matured? And then we have to take in consideration there's 8 billion people in the world. And so are you only talking about your geographical location? Are you only talking about your ethnicity? And so it becomes a very deep question. Are you talking about who's more in demand as it relates to your religion? And so when we start to get all of those different subsets, the way to answer the question, what we know by statistics is that there are more women than there are men. We know that statistically. We also know statistically that when we take out the men who are already married, when we take out the men who are incarcerated, when we take out the men who are homeless, when we take out the men who won't work, when we take out the men who are no longer, well, some are still on the down low and some they identify within the group of the LGBTQA plus. When we take all of those out, I'm going to say definitely, definitely, I believe that men are in more demand. And someone said, well, Pastor Jeff, what examples do you have? Some of you heard me share. I was sitting in a restaurant in Atlanta. Brother Renard, I wasn't eavesdropping. It's just the ladies who were on the other side were talking loud enough for me to hear what they were saying. So really, they were infringing on my right to be by myself and not have to listen to their conversation. But their conversation was, one of them was the side chick. She was happy to be the side chick, but she was upset that she didn't get all the wife rights. How about that? She was upset because the wife was getting some privileges that she didn't get, but she was okay with.
Is my mic on?
What's that?
Okay, my mic is on.
Yeah, your mic is on.
Hey man, that's not something that's uncommon, and I hope that. And I actually, from the last brother that spoke, found out quite immediately that we're not all in the same box, of course. You know, each is packaged differently. So what's acceptable in one relationship, one marriage, or one relationship may not be acceptable in another, or may not even be looked upon as the norm. You know, but you'd be surprised at the ties that bind and bond any given relationship. People are different. I mean, one guy grew up playing baseball, one guy grew up playing ice hockey, one guy grew up playing tennis, one guy grew up playing piano. You know, whatever it is, everybody has different things going on with them all across the board. A diamond has multiple facets, multiple surfaces, and none of the same. You know? So yeah, the side chick, she can be happy, or the side chick can be unhappy. You have people who are taking on multiple wives. And at the end of the day, if done properly, I'm not sure that I disagree with the individual that does that, because I've seen some successful situations out of polygamous marriages.
Interesting.
You know, and I don't look at it or view it as, oh, that's a bad word. Not at all, because see, Pastor, the Bible is funny sometimes to me. I'm like, yeah, this is really comedic, and I've read it. I've read the Bible many times, the Torah and the Quran, and it all makes for really interesting read. Solomon, my guy, you know, even David, and quite a few other folks, Abraham, and these guys had multiple wives, many wives, many wives. Some of them, but they're relevant, they're important, and they're looked to as revered or respected men. Now, fast forward to a day and age where all kinds of debauchery, shenanigans, and from my Caribbean heritage, fuckery is going on in our communities and across the board. And we're not where we should be. There's a reason for that. Is it because we're not building the way that we used to?
Well, that's a good question. And
that's husbands and wives, kings and queens.
Yeah, that'll be one we'll have to come back to.
Come back to that one. But that's part of that rabbit hole.
That's what we'll have to come back to, because we are just about halfway through the show and we've only asked one question. We haven't even got to the question for the bid. And there's some answers in the chat. So as well as in the comments. So I want to take a moment. And if you are listening to us, if you are watching on Facebook, you're watching on YouTube, look, please go ahead, like, share, and subscribe, depending on which platform you're on. Put some black and pink, that's right, some black and pink hearts in the comments, in the chats on Clubhouse. Please go ahead and share the room out. And invite some other men, some other women into the conversation. And one of the things for sure, we did not get groupthink on this. Some say that the demand is equal. Some say that women are more in demand, and some say that men are more in demand. It reminds me of what I realized as a child. As a teenager, Steve, I realized that when you cannot please everybody in the world at one time, some folks just don't care. Some folks are going to agree with you, and some folks are going to disagree. So you may as well be yourself, because you're never going to get everybody that's going to put the thumbs up to you. So this was a good question. It was a question that went, it seemed, well, it was a closed-end question, but with an open-end answer. Now, the second question was similar to that, and we want to go through this one a little bit faster so we can get to the men, and we definitely want to be able to address breast cancer awareness as men. And the second question that the butterflies and the ladybugs wanted to know, in your opinion, very quickly, within, I'm going to say no more than 60 seconds, who do you believe is getting more of what they want? Who do you believe is getting more of what they want? The men or the women? Steve, turning the mic over to you.
Thanks so much, Pastor. I believe that it depends upon person to person, but yes, if we see in the world and the different countries, it's not only we're talking about one geographical location. First, we go to the demand. It's if you go to the Asia, women are more in demand because clearly, female child feeds when they were in the mother's tummy, and that's a taboo there. Like, they want a boy child. So in there, the women are more in demand. But let's come back to the Western world. Men are less than women everywhere. So men are in demand. Now, who is getting what they want? As if you talk about Asia, definitely women get what they want. But if you see Western world, men are getting what they want. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Pastor TJ Davis. Your opinion, who's getting more of what they want?
I don't know where y'all getting these questions from. Y'all's getting them from the women.
It's from the butterflies and the ladybugs. Y'all know you know the routine. We're gonna ask 2 questions that the ladies want answered. Now, only thing Pastor Jeff will do is I'm going to phrase the question so that it is not accusatory, and that it allows us men to be able to give a thoughtful answer. Other than that, I'm just going to ask that question. So this is the second question, TJ.
Yeah, I understand that. I believe that it depends on how you have the relationship structured. Again, I'm not going to go gender. I mean, I'm not going to answer that gender, whether it's the woman or the man, but in my relationship, I can account for the fact that we are both getting what we want because we're one. When we don't get what we want, then we talk about why we're not getting what we want.
Was that it? I think he froze.
That's it.
All right.
That's
all
it.
right. We're gonna go to King Renard. In your opinion.
Well, who's getting what they want? Wow. And in agreement, I think across the board we say men are more in demand, but I do believe, and this is from my perspective, our women are getting what they want. Okay. Those that have men. Mm-hmm. Those that have men. Okay. They're getting what they want from their men. I live by a TI mantra. My wife, she can have whatever she likes. And whatever I got, she can have the same thing. It is what it is. Goes without saying.
Mm-hmm.
And she gonna go get her own too.
Mm-hmm.
And her own may not filter down to me getting whatever I like financially, but what I do like is to see her happy.
Okay.
You understand? So yeah, I do believe they definitely get more what they like, but as long as they have if you have a woman who has a man and you're in a happy relationship, you want to see your woman happy, you better give her what she want, or else you're gonna be unhappy.
All righty. Thank you. We're going to go to the clubhouse. Peter, flash your mic if you're with us. Peter, in your opinion, who's getting what they
In
want?
my opinion, so really quick answer to the first question, Pastor Jeff. For, men, women sharing. My response here is the question: who is more in demand, men or women? Right.
Mm-hmm.
My response: men, women sharing their responsibilities based on individual strength. That's what's in demand. So both men and women in demand based on them sharing their responsibilities together, being in unison. And then are men or women getting what they want? Very, very, very interesting question. This one, of course, for me, is not a one size fits all.
Mm-hmm.
In most cases, in the form of in terms of being in a marriage, I think everybody's getting what they want. At least if the woman is happy, the man is getting what he wants is for her to be happy. And so he's getting what he wants. If the woman is happy, it's because she's getting what she wants, is a husband that is caring for her. And again, she gets what she wants because the husband that cares for her. He gets what he wants because he wants a wife that's happy with him and happy with what he has to provide and the way he provides, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a loaded question. That it's again not a one size fits all. That's my response, and I'm sticking to it, brother.
And you're right, and he's absolutely right because there's that single side too.
All right. All
Because
right.
not all of us are married.
Absolutely. And let's go to Dr. Caxton. Dr. Caxton, flash your mic if you're able to speak. All right, Dr. Caxton, within 60 seconds, the ladies want to know, in your opinion, who's getting more of what they want, the men or the women?
I don't think any one of them is getting what they want. I think temporary measures, it looks like they're getting what they want, but if you're giving and not getting, or you're getting and not giving, either way, you'll see that it correlates with the divorce rates. For every single divorce, they say, for every time someone files for divorce, 5 of those people are waiting to file for divorce for every 4 divorces that happen. I don't think, based on the social cultural context that we're living in, where men are bashed, where women are not respected, women are put in lyric songs as bitches and all that stuff, I don't think we have the social construct to give everybody what they need in a relationship called marriage. So I don't think either from the divorce rates, either sex is getting what they need. There'll be few that are giving and receiving, but it's not a balanced sheet. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Caxton. You bring up a good point when you talk about the divorce rate, and that would be an indicator if over 50% of people are, or married couples are getting divorced, then that would say 50% of the people are getting what they want. Now, this question is another one of those questions I believe Brother Bernard would say is a rabbit hole because it's relative. And it's relative. If we go by some of the idioms, there's an old idiom that says happy wife, happy life. In the 21st century, that's changed so that you want to have both a happy husband and a happy wife. But in the days of us baby boomers, it was happy wife, happy life. And in that instant, that suggesting that the man is going to do what makes the wife happy so that he can be happy. I believe it was Solomon that said something to the effect that it's better to be on the rooftop And you have to understand that the rooftop was like our
And this
patio.
with a contentious woman.
And be in the presence of a contentious woman. Look, most men don't want to fuss and fight with you. They don't want you nagging them. And so what they do? They definitely don't do what we're doing here, which is having the barbershop conversation. They go into the man cave and they stay there until they have to come out.
They stay there until they get the divorce letter from the lawyer, you mean?
No, Dr. Caxton, I'm not even talking about those. There's something that they've just learned. To stay in the man cave, you come out to eat, you come out for the occasional date, you come out to make sure that you can mate. We're not going to forget that. And then you go back in because they just don't want to hear it and don't want to.
Some would argue the point that maybe they just slipping on their pimping.
Say that again.
Some would argue the point that maybe those gentlemen are just slipping on their pimping.
Well, some of them may be. and some of them realize, hey, I'm not going anywhere. So I know what the routine is and she'll get over it. Keep her happy. I'll be able to get what I want when every now and then, and we'll keep it going. All right, men, with that, we're going to move on. We're at the 41-minute mark, and we do want to get at least a couple of questions for the men. So, men, I'm not pulling any punches. The very first question for the men is this. How should women help prevent the mama boy syndrome? How should women help prevent the mama boy syndrome? In other words, how should they help prevent their boys, their sons, from becoming that son that has to depend on his wife because he depended on his mother and she made him the surrogate husband? What do women need to do? In your opinion, what do the women need to do? Pastor TJ Davis, what do these single mothers and married mothers of young men, what did he need to do so that this young man can become a man and not a henpecked mama boy?
Move, mama, and get out the way. Get out the way. That's how I answer that question. But, I believe
the ladies need to move, mama. We asking.
Did he quote Ludacris?
You said move, mama.
I had a good adjustment today. I'm feeling good today, y'all.
All right.
I would suggest, I would strongly suggest that if a woman has, if you have a man that's in the life of your sons, and you sincerely trust that man, sincerely trust that man and trust his judgment, then allow that man to father that son. Whenever there's conversations that the father and the son are having that may be not comfortable for you as a single mom or mother to listen to, just simply remove yourself from the room and allow that man to father that son and help that son grow as a young man. That's what I'm currently doing in my own home.
All right.
I'm done.
Thank you, Pastor TJ Davis. We're going to go up to Mr. Steve. Mr. Steve, how can single mothers as well as married mothers help prevent the henpecked man, the mama boy, that he doesn't even know how to stand up and take charge and lead?
Oh, sorry.
That's over to you.
All right. So if it is a mama's boy, it is said that if you marry to a boy who is mama's boy, it's mostly emotionally good in a relationship. Now, how to prevent that thing is that don't make him choose. If you make him choose a woman makes him choose a wife or a mother, then it is difficult. So don't make him choose. This is the first thing. Establish the clear boundaries. You had to make sure that you had to communicate. That's the best thing in a relationship, when you communicate your needs and your wants. So you tell them that exactly what you have to do. Because we are not like Google. You search anything and we know everything is inside. No, it's not there. But you have to definitely communicate with the man and encourage him to establish clear boundaries. You have to do that. A lady has to do that. And don't let them, always be around you. Let them spend the time with the mother as well, with yourself. And also remind him of what it means to be an adult. An adult person will never, discriminate. Discriminate. I'm sorry. Discriminate in a relationship, whether it's mother or its wife. He will not differentiate. Once a person is adult, he understands what is the importance of a wife and a mother. He will never do that. You have to, teach him that listen to mother, listen to me too, but don't take the actions. Keep the things in the air, but don't act on those things. And play a smart boy. You have to be smart. It's all called that. If you are smart, you definitely fix the problems of others. But if you're wise, you avoid creating problems. So tell him what's wise and what's smart. It depends upon a woman to do that. And also, make decisions together without asking, mother, or if you're doing it mother and child, then definitely do that. If you're doing, husband and wife, then do it that way. Yeah. Thanks. Over to you, Pastor.
Thank you, Steve. We'll go to Renard, and let's remember we want to get at least one more question in for the men. So, Renard, very quickly, as
Well,
most men have had this
essentially,
conversation.
this is a good one too, though. But essentially, ladies, know he's a mama's boy before you say I do, and you probably knew he was a mama's boy a few months into dating him, if not sooner than that. So unless you plan on changing somebody, which is never a good idea, because you can't change anybody. People are going to change themselves when they're ready to change themselves, or when something happens that there's that change. People do change, but if you plan on sitting around and waiting for that, don't be upset if you find yourself in a relationship with a mama's boy and your life is dictated by your husband's mom. You chose that. Now, as far as ladies who don't want to raise sons that are mama's boys, that's where it get a little more difficult. That goes back into that rites of passage thing I was talking about when I first called it a rabbit hole.
Mhm.
And it goes to accountable men. I don't care if it's your biological father, a stepfather, if mom gets married, coach or whatever, but there's got to be some accountability where we stand up and step in where we see that there's something amiss and as men to help raise our young men. Oftentimes, our women cannot see that because their love is different. We have instincts as well. It's a paternal instinct. It's not maternal, but women are different oftentimes when it comes to their children, especially if she raises them by herself or his faults aren't faults. You understand what I'm saying? Where children get catered to, and so prime example. My oldest son lives in Las Vegas. His mother's brother, even though my son's uncle was kind of a force to be reckoned with when it came to street life. He was definitely a mama's boy. And what I mean by that is he could do no wrong in his mother's eyes. If he got arrested, she's right there. He could commit a crime in front of her. No, he didn't. My baby didn't do that. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So that made life real difficult for his children's mothers to compete with that. If they saw a right and wrong and mom didn't, and mom was up, you done chose that. I don't say that a woman that raised a child he ends up being a mama's boy. I'm not saying that he ends up pink, fluffy, and soft. No, not necessarily at all. But doesn't feel accountable and has that go-to that's going to give him cushion to not feel accountable, then when does he ever have to be accountable?
Good.
So, ladies, you got to cut the apron strings, get out the way. Let him get his hind parts broke a few times.
Absolutely.
Cut the umbilical cord.
Yeah, that's it. We gonna hear that again. We're gonna go to the clubhouse to Peter. Peter, and if you can wrap it up in about 60 seconds, Peter.
Sure. Yeah. How can women avoid the mama boy syndrome? I think at the end of the day, you know, is being a mama's boy a bad thing, right? It's just a matter of, is that child able to understand that being a mama's boy means you have the ability to take great care of your wife when you get one, when you find one. And so, I don't think there's any reason to avoid this. I think the mama's boy thing is probably being misconstrued because again, at the end of the day, she's teaching him how to be a good husband. And back to my first point is that's why the man is so important as well. Both of them working together is going to grow this boy up to be the man he should be to the woman he finally becomes connected with. This is my point. I'm done.
Thank you, Peter. Appreciate it. Dr. Caxton, flash the mic if you can answer the question.
Can I bite back at that real quick?
Well, let's bring it around and we'll come back.
Okay.
Dr. Caxton, go ahead.
Sure. I think, first of all, misconstruing this thing called mama's boy, okay? It's masculinity and proper development and growth for a woman to be sensitive, to be trained to be sensitive to the needs of a woman. That starts with his mom. That's not a mama's boy. And so I think it's a misconstruct to say that a woman who is sensitive, a man who is sensitive, or a young man who is sensitive to the needs of a woman, which starts with his mom, is a mama's boy. It's not a mama's boy. It's just normal development. So when we look at woman, if a woman is protective to the point of being destructive, that's what makes a mama's boy. And we heard someone just say, a gangster, a gangbanger, or whatever, he's smart on the streets. And even though he's smart on the streets, he's not accountable. Sensitivity and accountability are two different things, ladies and gentlemen. So the third thing I want to say is, if a woman takes everything that the man is trying to do with a boy that the man already instinctively sees, there's something wrong here, but we can work with it, we can fix it. If the woman is not careful, every time the man is trying to address a defect, a deficiency, a need in that boy that can turn him into a real man, if the woman always takes it, and a lot of women take it personal, that they presume that any deficiency or weakness or need in the boy before that man came along, or even if it's a father, that any need that man is trying to address that he sees in that boy means it's a personal failure. So she takes it personal, creates a screen. I've seen this so many times, develops a screen, and even sometimes attacks the man for wanting to put the corrective measures in place. And so a woman, again, someone said, step back, walk out the door. If you trusted that man enough to marry him, maybe you're not with his dad because you don't trust the father, or you realize the father was a goof, But if you're now with a man that you've now got more sense, more capacity, more maturity, and you chose that man well, and he's working with your son, if you don't let him do what he needs to do with that boy, and he doesn't get those rites of passage in place, that will be a mess, and it'll be somebody's fault, not the man. I yield the mic. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Caxton. We have Tyrone Poole in the house. Tyrone, the question is, if you didn't hear it, question is, if you were speaking with a mother, what advice do you give her so that she does not create a mama boy?
Hello, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. How you doing? My brother, Pastor Jeff, and my beautiful sisters, and everybody in the room. Renee, how you doing? And all the kings also. All right. Wow. I kind of came in on the tail end. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to paint a picture. I'm going to tell a story real quick. You said 60 seconds. I'm going to do
Yes,
it.
sir. Yes, sir. We've got
all
about
right,
3 more men to go to on the stage.
All right, here we go. All right. So this is my advice. This is anybody, man, woman, you raising your kids, whatever. Let them think of swimming. Think of swimming. Anybody who's had kids and you taking your kids for swimming lessons, think of swimming as you're teaching them life. Okay, that's life. You're teaching them how to swim. You're teaching them how to survive. Okay, you're teaching them how to stay afloat. That's what you're hoping that the trainer is going to do. So my advice is let them take in water. Let them take in water. It's okay to let them choke. All right, it's not going to kill them. It's not going to kill them. What you're doing is teaching them how to not take in water. Okay, so those who don't understand, like there's a certain method of like swimming. So there's a pocket of air, so to speak, that's up under your armpit when you bring it up. All right. So if you want to learn how to swim properly, then that's what you have to learn. Okay, where to find that air. Okay. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but my kids once took swimming lessons, and when the trainer had them out there, they choking and coughing like, we like, hold on, you don't know what you're doing, trainer. We about to run out the stands, and because we are like don't want them to hurt. You know what? But hurting is part of growing. So after weeks and weeks of swim lessons, they stopped taking in water because they knew that wasn't the proper thing to do. So my advice is, in certain situations, let them grow up. Let them scrape the skin. That's how you learn in life. So I don't know if that helps anybody, but that's what I'll say.
It's your opinion, Tyrone. And that's what we do in these barbershop conversations. There's no right or wrong answers. We're just talking as men, and hopefully the butterflies. And Tyrone, I know you came in a little bit late, but today I learned we not only have butterflies, but we got some ladybugs. And I told them, don't give me no other insects, because Pastor Jeff and I are trying to remember all of those. Look, we're going to go to, I see Brother Chris. Brother Chris. Is that Brother Chris or Sister Chris? I don't know.
Nah, it's Brother Chris.
Hey, Brother Chris. Yeah, did you hear the question?
Repeat the question.
I'll say the question is, how does a mother, married or single, not create a mama's boy?
Well, what the boy's going to wind up being comes down to who they are, because everybody's an individual. You're not going to be able to put them all in one place. You're not going to be able to say that just because this mother does something one way, that her child's going to turn out this way. I happen to have an ex that she raised my son, and it had nothing to do with her raising him on how he turned out. And, I'm not going to get into his life, but it's more about what that parent is doing positive in the life, not necessarily about it being mama's boy, because anybody can be, like you can say, not wanting to fight, being scared to fight, being scared of a fight. But then you can have other ones that just want to stand up be angry. So I think it just needs to be a positive influence in the child's life and not be a stereotype of a mama's boy.
All right. Thank you, Chris. We've appreciate that. We're going to go over to Bobby. Flash your mic if you're with us, Bobby. All right, Bobby.
Hi, Bobby Johnson. How everybody doing today?
We're doing great. If you could stick to the question, we're already at the 1 hour mark, but I want every man to be able to give their response, and Pastor Jeff's got to give his closing remarks. So how about it?
Well, I was getting ready to text. Just tell him think positive. His heart is his world, and know that he has brothers and sisters, and intentions are well. Integrity is best, and dignity is always better.
Absolutely. Thank you, Bobby. We appreciate it. And we thank you for coming back. We believe this is your second time here with us. And we thank you for being coming in. Jeffrey, my namesake, flash a mic if you're with us. All right, Jeffrey, let us know your perspective. How does a mother, married or single, not create a mama's boy?
She or one, yes, she has to understand that and he's going to hear no in his life. That's what I tell my wife. Hey, it's nothing wrong loving your son, protecting your son. That's the mother. You got the mother bear, but you gotta let the boy fly. You gotta sometimes let him fly off the cliff and soar away. So, I have that with my wife. I have that discussion with her, and, I'll assert myself and, and let my wife know that, hey, listen, we're raising a man, we're raising a black man. So, he needs to toughen up sometimes. And, it's a communication, I love my mother, but my mother's not all in my business, She has a great relationship with my wife. She never, with any of my relationships in the past, was in the way. If I ask her for advice, that's when she comes in. And you got to teach that when they're younger. And cool to have a daddy's girl. It's not cool to have a mama's boy. So, my daughters love me, my twin girls. One loves me more than the other. One is team mom, the other one is team dad. And, when they get to a certain age, I know I can't just be all in the way, all being overprotective. So I think it's communication and respect. And I don't know who was it before. They're like, hey, you love me for me. You should love me to teach our son. There's certain things that a woman cannot teach a man. And, just like with me, my daughters are 16. When they start going through their cycle, that's not in my, department. That's out of my scope of practice, right?
Absolutely.
The mom has to come in and certain instantly with a guy, a father or any male figure. I think it should be a team. And sometimes, you got to step back and let me drive the wheel. So I'm done for right now. And thank you.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Okay, Pastor Jeff, y'all know I don't hold no punches. I don't pull no punches. When it comes to the mama boy syndrome, and we know there's a generality, but what are we really talking about? What we're talking about is a mother, married or single, that does not allow her son to fall, does not allow a man to teach him how to be a man. A mother can be protective, but it takes a man, I don't care what you say, it takes a man to teach a boy how to become a man. Women, you haven't been a man, so you need to allow that man. We also, if you're in a relationship to where the biological father is not there or is there, then there ought to be, as Dr. Caxton said, he had to go back to work. What he said is, if you vetted that man and you married that man, then let that man be a disciplinarian. Let that man be the leader in his home. Don't emasculate him with the children, but you want him to be a man and a leader and a beast in the bedroom. You have to, ladies, butterflies, ladybugs, you have to stop allowing your sons to be your surrogate husbands. They're not. For those who subscribe to the most popular and the #1 best-selling book of all time, still the Bible, the ancient text, it says, for this cause shall a man leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife. Cleave means to be glued to in this sense. And therefore, the young man needs to be taught that he's going to have to leave out of the home and be a man, be able to take care of the family. And therefore, if you have taught and enabled that male child to be dependent on you, and every time he falls, you have a safety blanket for him, the time is going to come that you won't be here and he have no clue on what to do. Or he will get in a marriage and the marriage will not work because he does not know how to lead. He hasn't seen male leadership. Yeah, he knows how to provide. Yes, he knows how to be respectful, but he doesn't know how to be a man because he's never saw it modeled, and you didn't let a man model it for him. With that, look, we want to say, we got to come back to this conversation. We also, since this is breast cancer awareness, we want to talk about breast cancer. We just couldn't get to today. We needed an extra hour. Pastor TJ Renard, thank you to all my live guests.
Thank you for having me.
Steve is our usual, Pastor Terrence, and Renard came in on fire. To everybody who's on the stage, I'm not going to call everybody's names because we're already over time. I want to say thank you much. We're going to take this conversation to the clubhouse, and we only got about 5 minutes when we get into the clubhouse. So with that, I want to say to each and every one of you, to the men and the ladies, or however you identify yourself, Pastor Jeff wants to tell you, look, if nobody told you today, you have an absolutely beautiful smile. Yep, you absolutely do. If you don't believe me, look, go find yourself a mirror, a compact mirror, rear view mirror. If you're in your car, your bathroom mirror, full length mirror in your bedroom, I don't care, hallway, just get a mirror. Smile at yourself. Pastor Jeff guarantees you, yourself is going to smile back. Take it as your creator smiling at you. Go share that smile with the world for the rest of this week and the rest of the day, because smiles are contagious and frowns are frightening. With that, we love each and every one. You're absolutely nothing you can do about it. Please come back next week, same time, same place, for another Tom Ford Friday. We'll be wearing pink, something pink, for the rest of the month. That's right. So come back next week. With that being said, we're going to turn it back over to Renee, and we're going to the clubhouse.